Welcome everyone to Color Commentary. We are your pauper commentators, Michael Petchik and Adrian Gonzalez. How's it going, Adrian?
I can't remember the joke I made earlier, but it's good.
Yeah,
this is the second time we let in. I made a quite a funny.
yeah.
Lost to time now though.
It's lost completely out into the aether. So all right. So we're both doing pretty well. We missed an episode there. Had kind of a rough weekend, but you know.
Yeah, I was moving in. It's cool.
We're actually speaking to you from the past. We've started hopefully a routine of recording on Thursdays and then uploading at our normal Sunday time, which means yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, it means I get my weekend back. Basically, I was variably employed before, but now I've got the 9 to 5, so I really do value my weekend time.
Oh, but when it was me, it was no big deal, huh, Mike? When it was me giving up my whole weekend.
It's not a
big deal. This works out. Thursdays are great for me. You got to retool things every once in a while, make sure everyone is still going strong.
Yeah.
Totally cool.
So, as an update, we played our matches for Pauperpalooza. I got knocked out in round 3. We both top 8'd though. That's pretty cool.
Yes. We'll both receive sweet deck boxes from the one, the only Aaron Kane MTG custom deck boxes. Check them out. They're great.
Yeah. Again, can't speak highly enough. It's really cool that he threw together this event where he's basically giving away a pile of free product to the community.
You know, it's kind of funny. I mean, he's a really nice guy. Like, I'm not like what I'm about to say is not meant to cheapen the fact that he's super nice and super awesome. But he kind of reminds me of like the puppet master. It's like he's like, we're all sitting in these videos and he's like, yes, fight for my amusement. And it's just I just think of him like in his studio, like watching these while he like works. And I don't know. It's just a really funny thought I have. Much love, Aaron. I'm sure you're very respectful while you watch these videos.
Yeah. So that is a great mental image. So I'll go first. I scrubbed out in round 3 on Red Deck Wins featuring God, I keep doing that. Burning Tree Emissary, not Bloodbraid Emissary. I keep getting that one wrong.
They both got feathers in their hair.
They do actually. Only the F&M art though.
Yeah, the Steve Argyle art, the good art, you might say.
I'm a little bit of a fan of the EMA art personally. But I got to test out Modern Masters 2017 card, and Burning Tree Emissary is nuts. It's not as nuts as I thought it was. There was no point at which, like, game 2, the video actually just went up today, as right before we started recording. My opponent recorded his match, and I think the only time I had I think it was game 2. I got stuck on one land for a long time. Thankfully, the deck had a lot of 1-drops. I kept drawing them, and then when I hit my second land, I got to go Bloodbraid Elf, or again, Burning Tree Emissary into Burning Tree Emissary into Burning Tree Emissary into Burning Tree Emissary into Mog War Marshal, and I just kind of got the GGs pretty much immediately. But I don't know. Card is very good. It's not an auto win, though. I feel like, the turn 2, couple of Burning Trees and another threat is pretty hard to beat, but it's not unbeatable.
That's good to know. Because you thought it was going to be the end of the format or something. It turns out it's not.
Yeah, I don't think we really talked about this a lot on the show, but I was actually fairly worried personally about the future of the format with Burning Tree in the format, but as it turns out, it's just like a very good aggro card.
I mean, how could it possibly beat Thermo Alchemist and Tandem Lookout, Mike?
Don't you start this. Don't you possibly start this.
All right, I won't start. All right, we're good. It's all good here, everyone. It's all good.
So tell people about your matches.
Oh, I played against the Elves. You can watch the video online. Krark Clan Shaman is a pretty good card against them, it turns out. It was fun. I'm in the top 4, final 4, whatever you want to call it. And I am set to play my next match on Saturday, I think. So before this episode goes up, you will be I'll be when you hear this, it'll already be done, but it's not done yet when we recorded this.
Yeah, it's going to take a while to get used to the time warp aspect of recording a couple of days early. Definitely going to be weird because it's 3 days difference, right?
Yeah,
I can count.
Right. Yeah, and I did play a league. I played Koldatha Boros. I did pretty well. There are a lot of people playing Stompy, and Koldatha Boros is very good against Stompy, even with cards like Burning Tree Emissary in the deck.
So in that matchup, I would have to think that that matchup is pretty dependent on them drawing Rancor or multiple Rancors. Would that be correct?
Yeah, game 1, then game 2, I bring in 2 standard bears, and things sort of fall apart for them.
Okay, that seems pretty fair. And then game 3, you just hope that they don't hit a gut shot and you play standard bearer.
Oh yeah, that's true. I was gonna say I don't care about gut shot, but yeah, I would care in that one instance. I would definitely care. Yeah, that's true, but it turns off so much of their deck, and I don't know. Gut shot's an incredible card against that deck if it ever comes up for any of you at home.
So actually, we while we're on the topic of Magic Online, we had a brief hiccup in the community where Tuesday afternoon a tweet goes up from Magic Online, and it says, due to an error, Modern Masters 3 cards will not be legal for pauper. And there was uproar. There
was a riot in the streets. There wasn't.
To be fair, they did say it was going to take them almost a month to get the problem resolved. From what I've been led to believe, part of the issue lies in changes and restarting leagues. At least that's what I've heard. But they managed to push out a quick fix. As we all know, MTGO is a amalgamation of code that sure does approximate Magic sometimes, but it turned out they managed to get a fix together, which,
it looks like they fixed the alternate art color problem. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, again, like there's a lot to unpack with the whole why does MTGO look like it's a program from the mid 90s, and why does Genesis Wave for 2 still reveal my entire deck and my opponent's deck and both of our sideboards to everyone?
Yo, dude, I played version 3. It was a lot worse. Don't let anyone tell you different.
Oh, I've seen video from version 3, and that alone is enough that me as a designer, I can't sit by that. I can't watch it. It's painful. But they did manage to push a fix live. And yeah, it is kind of unacceptable, but there were people who were threatening to boycott the format. And let me tell you, folks, if you ever boycott the format in large enough numbers, it's just going to die. Wizards is not obligated to keep us around in the least. We are pretty far from their money-making demographic in any way, shape, or form. So write letters to people, send a nice tweet or an email. Don't make it a mean tweet. Don't make it a mean email. Just, let them know.
You could strongly word it.
Yeah, I just wouldn't go any further than strongly word it. Please do not go on Twitter and harass the Magic Online team. Please. That's all I'm asking. Just, tell them.
Or thought, maybe do. No, don't.
No, don't.
Devil's advocate is bad here.
To be nice to people on Twitter. Twitter is a terrible, terrible place. Just be nice. But yeah.
Do that.
We almost had a hiccup that resulted in us getting cards a month late. It didn't actually happen. People got very upset about it, and it's mostly a non-story. Adrian, you have a deck list for us, and this week
do I?
And this week you're going to be taking control of this one, and I'm going to ask questions.
A little bit of a role reversal here. Now I'm in the hot seat. We will be covering, to the chagrin of some, but don't worry, it's done with love, Bant control as Alex Ullman, Jay Siri, and various others have been working on in the past day. Is that
quote,
accurate, Mike?
I've seen versions of this passed around our friend group for a while now. It's kind of, 3-color mid-range control. It's a neat deck.
Basically, so there's this card, Pulse of Marasa, and it's in the deck. We'll just get into it. Really, the reason I wanted to showcase this deck is not only is it kind of a cool brew that some of our friends have been working on. I recently picked up the deck and started playing with it a little bit today. It also is a deck that features the new card Augur of Bolas, which was recently downshifted in Modern Masters 2017. For anyone who doesn't know, Augur of Bolas, 1 and a blue for a 1/3. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may select an instant or a sorcery and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom. And so that's really the card I wanted to talk about. People think this card is the next new big thing in the format. I'm not 100% sold that it's better than Seagate Oracle. When I was playing the deck, I did find times where I wanted to actually get a land out of the deal, and I just couldn't find one. And Augur of Bolas is a card that you definitely want to play, but you can't really if you don't have a land.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
We definitely touched upon this in our set review, that like the downside of Augur versus Seagate is the fact that you can't get any card from your top 2. You get to dig one further, but you're restricted to 2 types. I mean, the other relevant thing is, while Burning Tree is not as perhaps game changing as we thought it was, Augur of Bolas does represent a way to, on the draw, start blocking Burning Tree Emissary.
Right, and that's not anything that you should definitely think of that. I just think there are hands where Augur of Bolas is much worse than Seagate Oracle more often than you want the 2-drop.
That's fair.
Speaking of Burning Tree, though, I know we've talked about it. I think you played it in mono green. Is that correct?
I played it in mono red.
Okay, that's where I put it also, because I had a game where I was playing it, and I played like the turn 2/2/2, and then a turn 3 I played that into Mud Brawler cohort and swung for 4. It was pretty sick.
Yeah, it's a good card. Next on the list is actually a card I think that matters more. Do you want to?
Right.
Yeah.
Lone Missionary. This is an old staple. It was originally printed in Zendikar. It's a 2/1 for 2, 1 and a white. It enters the battlefield, you gain 4 life. This card is great against a lot of decks because most pauper decks win with creatures in the red zone. So having a blocker that gains you 4 life is very good value, and that we have ways of recurring it in this deck that I'll get into a little bit later. But yeah, this card is great for stabilizing. 4 points of life is nothing to sneeze at, plus a 2/1 dude that will kill probably most aggro creatures.
Well, specifically, in a meta where Burning Tree exists, it represents negating 2 swings with Burning Tree and also trading with Burning Tree.
Yeah, it's a really strong card. It's seen play in the style lists before. I think maybe the only other Bant deck we ever covered was the Bant Reality Acid deck, which was a long time ago, and it heavily features Lone Missionary. It and Raven Rift Watcher are kind of the go-to for creatures that gain life.
Yeah, and I think with this one, just the fact that it can stick around as long as you need it to, and the fact that it does come down a turn earlier is relevant, especially since you're looking for this as a roadblock for aggro decks versus, having something in the air that will block favorably there.
Next up, we have 2 copies of Archaeomancer, another classic. 2 and 2 blue for a 1/2. When it enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. This deck plays Pulse of Marasa. That's the big thing we want here. We also have some other instants and sorceries I'll get into a little bit later. But Pulse of Marasa is really one of the strong reasons to splash for green in this deck. In fact, it's one of the 2 copies of Pulse of Marasa make up half of the green cards in the deck. There are only 4 of them. and you know it's a good enough card to splash.
Well, next up, we actually have one of the green cards.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking at my list on Moto. Next up, we have Battlefield Scrounger. This is becoming a more popular control win condition. It is a 3/3 for 5, 2, 3 and 2 green. It's a centaur and it has threshold. Put 3 cards from your graveyard on the bottom of your library. Battlefield Scrounger gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Activate this ability only once each turn and only if 7 or more cards are in your graveyard. So this is like the ultimate like late game win con where you're using this ability to put gas back into your deck with no more cards left in it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like the best place to be with this is definitely going to be no cards in deck. Put back the 3 best things from your graveyard and swing for 6.
Yeah, so it's becoming a much more popular win con, I believe. The snow. Did we cover that snow go deck on here? I don't really remember. I think we did, and I think this was the win condition for Sprout Swarm now.
Yeah, it definitely does find its way into decks where, you know, you can set up a stack that's like, I don't know, like counterspell, pulse. So you can pulse it back if they can kill it past the 2 counterspells you're about to draw.
Yeah, it's a great game ender control card. Next up, we have 3 copies of Muldrifter. You know what? You love it. It's a 2/2 that draws you cards. I don't really need to go into a lot of detail about it. Muldrifter, arguably the reason blue is one of the strongest colors in our format. Just, you know, if you play a Muldrifter and then your opponent kills it, you 3-for-1 them. You know, you've drawn 2 cards. They had to spin a kill spell. And you can pulse this back in the late game, which is, you know, insane because you're gaining life and drawing cards and doing all sorts of things that the opponent's deck typically doesn't want you to do.
And sometimes an evasive 2/2 is just a good body to, you know, slowly peck away at a game.
Yeah. Up next, we have another big creature, our final green card. It is Nessian Asp, and I don't know how much Theros you drafted, Mike. I drafted a crap ton of Theros. The best archetype in the format was green-blue, and Nessian Asp was one of the reasons that deck was so good.
I was gonna say I have played this in a pauper cube. I've also played it in my peasant cube, and hoo boy, it is a hell of a late game target because an 8/9 with reach really just stops stuff from happening and is a hell of a win con.
Right, and let's be clear here. It actually starts as a 4/5. It has monstrosity for 6 and a green. Monstrosity is a mechanic from Theros where if a creature was not monstrous, you put X amount of counters on it and it became monstrous. So theoretically, if you had, 14 mana, you could monstrosity it twice.
Yes, but it actually does nothing the second time.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that. Never mind. Don't listen to me.
So actually, you can technically activate it as many times as you like. It just does nothing past the first time, and it's actually worded very carefully so you can't, you know, pay into it twice and double monstrous someone. But yeah, 8/9 with reach is just it's a brick. Like,
yeah, Nessian Asp is a very good card. I mean, granted, that was a format where Grip Tide was like the best removal spell, but it's still a great card.
Yeah, Theros seems like it would be weird to draft. I haven't been able to get out and draft lately. I might try and draft
triple Theros, dog. Do it.
It seems very like core setty almost, with like very specific mechanics and like battle cruiser style magic. I don't know.
I mean, do you like blue green?
I do like blue green ramp quite a bit.
Then you will like this format. Voyaging Satyr is in that set. Grip Tide's the best removal spell. Shipbreaker Kraken is probably one of the best rares.
Okay,
it's great.
I can see where the appeal is. But yeah, I like this card a lot. It's a really cool card, and the reach is not irrelevant.
No, not at all. I mean, against Delver, what are they going to do? Snap it? Yeah, snap. They only got 2 of those in their deck. Yeah.
Okay.
So up next.
Yeah, let's move into spells. I'm curious.
We got 2 copies of Piracy Charm. This card is awesome. Piracy Charm is U for an instant. Choose 1. Target creature gains Island Walk. Target creature gets +2/-1. Target player discards a card. Forgive me if I might be mistaken. This is a color shifted version of Funeral Charm, which is black.
Yes, that is 100% correct. Also, both modern legal, weirdly, because Funeral Charm got time shifted, but Piracy Charm is a neat card. It's sometimes removal, it's sometimes a pump spell, it's sometimes
evasion.
Sometimes evasion, and sometimes you are Mike and you learn the hard way that it is an instant and you can target someone during their draw step with it.
Yeah, dude. Piracy Charm is a really great charm. It might be one of the best charms, actually, because I can't really think of a lot of the other ones that get played in a lot of decks. But Piracy Charm, you'll see it in Delver sideboards. You'll see it a lot of places. I think having 2 in the main is really interesting. It's definitely good against Delver as well, because of course they have islands. Of course they have X1s you can kill. So yeah, I don't hate it in this deck at all, especially since Bant is a color combination that's generally pretty light on hard removal.
I was thinking about what you said about it being one of the best charms. I think the only other one I can think of that I've ever seen played in Pauper.
Is it Funeral Charm?
No, actually Hearth Charm. There's a little classic ditty from Visions. Actually, I believe part of the same cycle as Funeral Charm. It is a red for an instant. Choose one, destroy target artifact creature. Attacking creatures get +1/+0 until end of turn, and target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn.
And I don't hate that.
It used to see play in Goblins out of the sideboard. Just being able to have like a 1-mana pseudo bushwhacker effect was really, really powerful. The fact that you also got to nuke artifact creatures versus affinity, and I mean even the last one, like sometimes you get into a board stall and you just need something to get through. And fun fact, you can target something that has less than 2 power, pump it, and then get in still unblocked.
That's so fun.
Yeah, definitely a neat card.
Up next, we got 4 copies of Ponder. Lore win or bust on this one, everyone.
Wow,
Ponder is.
I didn't know you were one of those people.
Well, what are your other options? You like three balls? Come on,
yeah.
Dude.
No. Three spheres. Best Ponder.
No, worst Ponder. Best Ponder is fish. You know what I'm gonna say. Anyway, so Ponder is you. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put them back in any order. You can shuffle your library afterwards. Draw a card. Widely considered to be one of the best cantrips in the game. A little bit more skill intensive than Preordain, perhaps, but still insanely good. And if you're a blue deck, you should play it. I'm not sure if I like Preordain better in this deck. Typically, I don't know. Yeah, Ponder's the better card, but it can put you in some awkward situations sometimes if you're not careful.
Yeah, I might enjoy doing like some sort of split, maybe a 2-2 split between Ponder Preordain, but that's also because I don't know. I'm a big fan of Preordain, and yes, it's definitely the simpler card. I guess with Ponder, like you could go Ponder, make sure that you have a hit for Augur of Bolas. If you see like Augur of Bolas, an instant, and then like some other card, and you stack it Augur, other card, instant, you can guarantee a hit next turn.
I actually did do that in one of my games earlier, so that's actually a great reason to play Ponder. Sorry for doubting you, Alex. Yeah, that's definitely a good reason to play Ponder here. Our next card is a spicy little include. Repeal. Blue and an X. Return target non-land permanent with converted mana cost X to its owner's hand. Draw a card. I played it. I played it to bounce my opponent's something. I don't really remember. But it's powerful because you can just cycle it.
Yeah, I was gonna say like you can kind of get away with just like bouncing something, and they're unlikely to try and interact with it. This did get notably worse actually during what was it, Shadows over Innistrad, when they amended how Delver works, because this used to be just blue bounce a Delver, draw a card.
Yeah. And now Delver costs 1. Which honestly it should. It makes way more sense to me that way, that it has the same converted mana cost on both sides. I think it's kind of silly
I believe part of the reason they had to do that was the meld cards and something to do with those.
Gotcha. So this card's interesting. It does some work. I don't normally see it played outside of Vintage because you can use it to cycle your own boxes to build Storm or to trigger Monastery Mentor. But it's still a sweet card.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. It's definitely not. I've seen it sometimes in Delver, but I generally see them going just for snap now, or sometimes even Vapor Snag.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Repeal does also have the niche play of it can bounce non-creatures as well. Like it is technically a boomerang effect.
Right. That is very relevant. Yeah, the problem is like I don't know. It's got problems, but it is an interesting card, and it is like a card a lot of people don't expect. So
definitely.
Next, we got 3 copies of Sunlance. Sunlance is kind of a white lightning bolt, but not really. It's white for Sunlance, deals 3 damage to target non-white creature as a sorcery. So this is sort of the burn based, not the burn, but the damage based removal this deck has. Sunlance probably one of the better white removal spells. Definitely less popular than Journey to Nowhere, but probably. In fact, I would say this deck's entire. Well, we have Piracy Charm. Most of the removal in this deck is white.
I'm going to hit you with this. You described this as a almost lightning bolt, and I would like
very wrong.
I was just going to say that's a little bit like describing a used Honda Civic as almost a Ferrari, but
no, they're both cars. Yeah. So the thing about Magic that kind of gets me is people compare cards to each other all the time, and it's like, well, it's exactly like lightning bolt, except it's white and it can't hit players, and it's a sorcery. It's like so it's nothing like lightning bolt at all. No.
And it can't hit white creatures at that.
Yeah, it does 3 damage. It's not the same card at all. I'm guilty of something that I preach against here, so I apologize, everyone.
I like Sunlance. It's main deck. You are kind of running, the Doomblade risk of it being a dead card in your hand game 1. That said, not really the end of the world. There's a decent amount of card draw in this deck, and if it turns out to be a good thing to have, it really does matter. Being able to snap it off against, say, like a stompy opponent who goes all in on one threat is really good.
Right. Unfortunately, you can't respond to a Rancor with it. So
but
you have Repeal for that.
You don't get full value, but you certainly do get some.
Right. Up next, we have a little spicy include Dramatic Rescue, white and a blue for an instant. Return target creature to its owner's hand. You gain 2 life. So use it offensively, use it defensively. Either way, you're going to be bouncing something to its owner's hand and gaining some life. So it's a neat little utility card. It functions sort of like Repeal. Yeah, it's like a snap or a vapor snag that helps you instead of hurting your opponent.
Also, it does, we've got enough ETB stuff in this deck where sometimes I can feel like late game you might just go Dramatic Rescue onto a Muldrifter just to draw 2 more cards.
Yeah, you know what you could do? I mean, I don't know why you would do this. If you had 5 mana, instead of just hard casting your Muldrifter, you could evoke it and then bounce it back to your hand. Sick plays.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you could do that thing.
You could.
Okay, well, up next, moving on, we have 2 copies of Echoing Truth. I like this card in the main. This is a very good control card. Echoing Truth is the blue card out of the Echoing cycle. It's 1 in a blue, return target non-land permanent.
Yep.
Yes, and all other permanents with the same name as that permanent to their owner's hands.
So how much does this hose tokens? Like Boros tokens?
I mean, it doesn't hurt more than like a nausea or something, I'm honestly not that afraid of effects like this playing with Boros tokens. You have 2 different types of tokens, A, and B, it doesn't really kill your big threats, your Sky Fishers and things of that nature. So I think there's enough creature diversity in the deck that this is, I mean, it'll hurt if it happens, and it might be a game-winning turn, but I would not be too afraid of it. Also, you can play the sick play of bolting your own creature, like I do all the time.
Yep, that certainly works.
My favorite play. Up next, we have 2 copies of Essence Scatter, counter target creature spell. I am personally running False Summoning in my version of the deck because it's a weird card and I like it. Plus, Detter Lizzie is one of my favorite bad artists. I actually don't think he's that bad. His art style is just very unique and it's definitely not would not fit in with modern Magic cards. I guess what I should say.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like Mask's Brainstorm is pretty iconic. It's I like a lot of his art. Yeah, just counter a creature for 2 mana. It's good. We are a creature based format heavily, and this card is just good.
Up next, we have your favorite counterspell, Prohibit. 2 or 1 in the blue for with a kicker 2. Counter target spell if its converted mana cost is 2 or less. If Prohibit was kicked, counter that spell if its converted mana cost is 4 or less instead. And I had made the mistake of thinking that said 4 or more.
Ooh, oof, that's not good.
You can still do it because of the way it's worded. You can still cast Prohibit if counter target spell if. So you can absolutely still cast it. Will it work? No.
Nope. So actually, fun little sidetrack. I actually recently found someone on eBay who had a bunch of old gaming magazines that I remember from my childhood. Actually from the same era where I started playing Magic, and I snap bought them because they were like $8. And one of them is actually the issue of Top Deck where they were talking about Invasion, and they have like a huge print of the art for Prohibit, which is part of the reason it's one of my favorite counter spells, but it was super cool. I really love this card, and I like think about the decks where this isn't good against. It's Tron.
You could even find some game there, against Tron.
Yeah,
honestly.
I think the only thing where I'd feel really bad about having this is possibly Affinity, and even then it can counter a Fling or an Atog.
Yeah, it's Prohibit is rarely just a stone dead card. We may be a common format, but a lot of our good stuff costs 4 or less. Really, it's just Affinity, and then it's like Mirror Enforcer, and that's like kind of it,
Yeah. Also, just in general, like always with these 3-color decks, you kind of want to keep your colored mana pips as low as possible. So Prohibit only costing 1 blue mana, even if you kick it, is really, really good upside.
Yeah. Up next, we got Capsize, flying in the face of what we are just talking about. 2 in the blue and 1 with buyback 3, return target permanent to its owner's hand. So for 6 mana, you can keep bouncing your opponent's stuff. This is a staple of control decks. It helps them deal with all sorts of nasty stuff, as well as eventuality lock your opponent out of the game. Now, this deck is not playing Tron mana, so it is a little bit harder to get to, but it's still totally worth it, and it's still good in the deck, in my opinion.
Yeah, I enjoy a good Capsize lock. Not across the table for me, but it certainly is a way to make a subpar win con very real very quickly. So you can get there off the back of a Mull Drifter if your opponent never has a creature in play.
Up next, we got Una's Grace, instant, 2 in a blue. Target player draws a card, retrace, which means that you can discard a land card and recast the spell in addition to its mana cost. Card is good with Pulse Marasa. Steady Stream of Card Advantage turns your lands into real cards. But really, because you can pulse the land back and then do it again, which is not the greatest of all plays, but it's a play you can certainly make. A defendable play at certain points in a game. It's never like what am I trying to say? It's never always wrong to do that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
This is definitely the style of deck where you have a lot of like kind of corner case plays that don't seem super relevant, but when they are relevant, they will be the only option.
Thank you, Mike. That's what I was trying to say. Yes.
I'm a big fan of Una's Grace. I'm a big, I kind of always wish that one of these days they will downshift Compulsion from uncommon. Super, super unlikely, but I was a big fan of that back in Odyssey block. And actually still a pretty big fan of it in my Peasant Cube. So Una's Grace is just a really neat card.
Next up, 2 copies of Pulse Marasa. We've covered this card to death on the show. It's a favorite of ours. 2 in a green, return target creature land from a graveyard to its owner's hand. You gain 6 life. Instant. Yep, good card. Up next, we have Sheer Drop. A sorcery. 2 and a white, destroy target tapped creature, awaken. 3, 5 and a white. If you cast a spell for 5 and a white, you also put 3 1/1 counters on target land you control, and it becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with haste. It is still a land. So yeah, that's a thing you can do.
I'm gonna come to the defense. You kind of trash talk this one a little bit before the show. I think this
not
is.
that, I mean, it's all right.
I think that this is the best of the common awaken spells for our format. The fact that it is okay. I know you're going to laugh at me, and I know you're going to give me hell for this.
No, go ahead.
This is the closest Pauper gets to Shriekmaw.
Please, God, why, Mike? Why did you just say that?
No.
Oh yeah, it's a. See, it's just like Shriekmaw, except it's a white sorcery.
So Shriekmaw, also sorcery speed. It's a targeted removal spell with a restriction on it, and if you pay more mana, you can get a 3-power creature.
It's a good thing you're cute, Mike. That's all I'm saying.
I actually, in all seriousness, do like this. I like removal stapled onto a body, even if it's just a 3/3. Doesn't pass the bolt test, but I don't also dreadfully care. I feel like
Wow.
if nothing else, you're at least gonna 2-for-1 here.
It really is the best one. The rest of them are like
did you actually
counters or do damage? Yeah, I looked them up.
They're pretty awful.
I could Myers Malice. Maybe no.
That's the mind
mana?
rot.
Yeah, I don't like that actually.
Earthen
Arms. You know what? I'm gonna stop.
So actually,
my
my favorite out of those Earthen Arms, because it lets you put +1/+1 counters on a permanent, I believe.
Yeah, that is true. But what do you think of Boiling Earth? Boiling Earth is a trickery that you could possibly awaken, but is a sorcery. So maybe that's not good enough.
I was about to say, if that card was an instant, I would be all over it, because I've had this discussion before with people. I think that's the killer point. The fact that you can't do it in response to stuff is a big bummer.
Well, and of course you can't. Making a creature at instant speed like that, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely way too powerful, especially for the block that it was in.
Right. Yeah. All right. Up next, we're getting into some other stuff. We have 1 enchantment, Journey to Nowhere, 1 and a white, enters the battlefield, exiles a dude. It's a good thing. Let's go on to the mana base, though, which is a little interesting. We have 2 copies of Ash Barrens. We're a 3-color deck, so we have to find our green sources. Most of the time, it's going to be the green sources that are the problem. One of Azorius Chancery. Again, we're a 3-color control deck, so of course we have bounce lands. 1 Blossoming Sands, 3 forests, 7 islands, 1 Chimera Crossroads, which is a white land that when it comes into play, you gain 2 life. It comes into play tapped. 3 plains, 1 Summit Growth Chamber, 1 Thornwood Falls, 3 Tranquil Coves. Excuse me, Mike and I feel tend to gloss over the mana base a little bit. I'm honestly not very good at evaluating a mana base. I assume that this is adequate for the deck because of the people who made it. But I know he's an expert.
Just speaking personally, I like the fact that it has relatively few ETB tapped lands. Out of 23 lands, having 13 of them, so a little over half as untapped lands, and Ash Barrens doing a pretty good impression of one, means that you are going to be able to get down stuff in the early game without, you're not going like guaranteed tap land into Karoo. Like you're not doing any of that. So I don't know. I think it's an adequate mana base. I'm not a huge fan of Chimera Crossroads, but I understand the need for it.
Yeah, you got bounce lands. And also since you're a 3-color deck, I don't know if you can really run Radiant Fountain.
Yeah, I'm just saying I think I might actually just prefer a plains because it's fetchable off the Barrens, gotcha. And right. I like ETB untapped lands.
Right. Going to the sideboard, we got 2 copies of Dispel because, of course, 3 copies of Hydroblast. Don't leave home without them. 2 copies of Celestial Flare. Celestial Flare is an instant WW. Target player sacks an attacking creature.
Yep.
Is it also when it blocks?
I think it's attacking or blocking.
Yes, attacking or blocking. Cool. So that's the thing. 2 copies of Divine Offering, which is 1 and a white, destroy target artifact. You gain life equal to its converted mana cost. It's an instant.
Yep.
Now, would you run this over Disenchant?
Oh man, don't make me answer these questions, because all I can see when I look at this is the dream scenario of killing a 4/4 and gaining 7 life.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty strong. Disenchant, of course, has a little bit more flexibility, but yeah, I can see your point. 1 copy Journey to Nowhere, more removal. 3 copies of Standard Bearer. I imagine that's because this deck might have a hard time against decks like Boggles. And as we well know, Standard Bearer is also very good against Stompy, so that might be a concession to that deck, maybe getting a little uptick in popularity.
Yeah.
Standard Bearer is a very powerful card.
Yeah, it's one of those effects where until you're across the table from it, I definitely had not realized how quickly it makes some decks fold. I've definitely been on the other side of it playing Stompy, and then just suddenly realized, like, oh, I'm not sure I can win this. Yeah.
I can't do anything anymore.
And that's part of the reason why Stompy runs Gut Shot in the sideboard, is to deal with this one card. That's how good it is against that deck.
Yeah, Standard Bearer is insane. I have 2 copies in foil in real life. I love it. Up next, we got 1 copy of Oblivion Ring. This is more of a catch-all. 2 and a white. When Oblivion Ring enters the battlefield, exile another target non-land permanent. When it leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to the battlefield, and blah, blah, blah. So you could theoretically abuse this with Repeal or with Capsize, because the way it's worded is if Oblivion Ring enters the battlefield and you target something and then you get rid of it, the thing goes away forever.
Yeah, I've definitely seen people have that done to them, and 9 mana is a lot, especially in a deck without Tron, but hoo boy, repeatable exile target permanent effects are pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Then we have 1 final copy of Pulse Marasa. So, down to brass tacks. Deck's pretty cheap, if you like what you hear here. Most of that money is going to be wrapped up in those Hydro Blasts, but if you don't have them, you should get them. There's very good cards. We're looking at $38.32 online, and then only $23.90 in paper, which is extremely cheap for a pauper deck. So if you like the idea of the deck, there are some good cards in it. Pulse is very good. Augur is, probably going to be very good. Archaeomancer is good. Yeah, there's a lot of cards you could put into other controlled style decks.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this, like, I might want to fiddle around with it and possibly try going 2/2 on the Augurs versus Seagates. But it's definitely a neat little thing. And part of the reason why I personally was excited that we were going to cover this is I think it does highlight a certain level of meta planning where this deck does not look like most other control decks, but it gets to play stuff like Lone Missionary, which I think Lone Missionary stock goes up quite considerably in the face of Burning Tree Emissary.
Right, because more Stompy, this card is great against Stompy, blah, 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 trickle down.
Yeah, I'll probably try this out on Moto at some point. I still, hopefully I'll be able to play more Magic at some point in my life. But
yeah, once you fix it, buy a little $100 machine. Mike and I are going to be doing Pauper Bro battle.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try and do that a little bit more often, and get more into Magic online.
Yeah, I'd like to too, but for me, it's mostly a time thing. It's just hard to, I don't know. It's a whole thing. But Mike and I are really committed to trying making more content. We've almost been doing this for a year now.
Yeah, we
have a special.
We're coming up on it. We've got to figure out what we're doing for the 1-year anniversary.
So.
Oh, you know what? I just realized this because my wife has told me this several times.
Do
you know what?
I'm not very good at that.
Do you know what 1st-year anniversary is?
No.
It's paper.
Wait. Wait, what? Say that one more time. What do I know what first year anniversary is? Is that what you asked me?
Yeah, you know that there's a gift that goes along with every anniversary, right?
Oh, yeah. I had an inkling of that. It's really paper is the first one.
Yeah, a little weird, right?
I had no idea what you were saying at first. I'm on the same page as you now. Does that mean we get to get each other magic cards? Is that what you're getting at?
I guess I don't know. I just kind of said that because paper is a thing that is vaguely related to our podcast. But
What's the second year?
I don't know, dude. That's like a year away. I just got married this last year. Give me a break.
Oh, but we're talking about our anniversary here, right? Not your anniversary.
Yeah, true. Although they're only about a month apart.
All right, whatever. We'll figure it
out. So for today's discussion, we wanted to touch on something that we have touched on in the past, but is probably a good idea to review. Resources and information for newer players who might be discovering the format. So if you just got into Pauper,
this is probably one of our most requested topics. People just want to know how to get into the format. How do I bring this to my store? How do I get into this on Moto? What's the most effective way for me to do all these things? It's easy for me in my panoptical ivory tower after I've invested hundreds of dollars into the game. But for you, the poor peasant out on the street, what do you do?
So first off, resources. If you found this podcast, you're already listening to a resource. I'm not going to put a value judgment on us because, we are the podcast who last week, probably about a fifth of the content we put out was talking about pretty pictures on cards. So, in all seriousness, we are the premier Pauper podcast, I think is what our website says. And we do show up here pretty much every week, hopefully every week moving forward, and dispense, knowledge, we'll call it.
Knowledge, he says.
What other good content is there? We've got,
there is, of course, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say we've got a friend of the show, Alex Ullman, who we featured. We featured one of his lists here. He's been on the show a couple times. All around good dude.
We got Pauper Fox, another great content producer.
Also a guest on the show.
Yeah. There's the Discord, the community. There's a couple other YouTube series. There's Austin Hoey's Pauper Ponderings. Which is he does a lot of brews, and then there's the more competitive Mikey Ruru's Popular Decks, where he takes decks into leagues, and he generally likes to keep them tier 1, whereas Austin generally does kind of whatever. Which scratch different itches. So
yeah,
I'm not saying one's right, one's better or anything.
There's Propaganda, which they produce video content and occasionally stream. I don't know what their schedule looks like at this point. Trying to think of what else. Oh, sorry, we didn't mention it. Alex Ullman's articles are over on gatheringmagic.com. It's a pretty cool site. They've actually got a lot of good content over there, and I would definitely suggest checking them out. There's a lot of stuff out there.
So you have all this stuff, right? We've given you the stuff. You're sitting there. You're in our office. You got a pot on your head, maybe a couple maps in your hand. You're looking up at us with your doughy eyes, and you're like, "But what now?" And then I tell you to read all this stuff, and then you read the stuff, and then you're like, "Well, what now?" And I'm like, "All right, fine, you got me. Here's how you're gonna do it at your LGS, because this is how we did it at our LGS." Basically, Logan, the ever awesome patron saint of Pauper over at Pat's Games, decided that he would like to bring Pauper to his store. You can do this even if you don't work for your store. He got a couple decks together. He said, "Hey, who wants to borrow these decks for a Pauper tournament?" Mike was there. I wasn't actually there, so I'm embellishing a little bit. And then, rain came down from the heavens, and everyone played Pauper, and their cards got wet. But it was okay.
So
that what happened?
Close enough. The main thing is availability. People, I'm gonna quote my co-host here. People who play Magic would rather play Magic than not play Magic. And that sounds highly reductionist, but it is true. Like if I'm waiting for a draft to fire at my LGS, I've had people be like, "Hey, do you want to play a quick game of Commander?" And I'm like, I don't really care for Commander, but these sure are Magic cards, and yeah, I'll jam a game. It's better than just sitting here.
Commander. What is he playing? Infinite Combo?
Uh,
Skitherix? I don't even know.
1v1.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Multiple Soul Ring?
Yeah. But the thing is, like, people enjoy formats, and there's definitely a lot of arguments that people tend to hear a lot about Pauper. You know, it's just commons, it's low powered, you know, all these things. You know, just show people a deck. Just, you know, hand it to them and be like, here, check this out. This is what Pauper looks like. And, you know, it might not be in your budget to put together a bunch of decks. You can proxy them. You know, obviously, I would like to, as a legal disclaimer here, say, don't enter events with them, blah, blah, blah. Do not, you know, steal copywritten material, all that good stuff. But, you know, if you proxy up a couple decks, like, you know, some good tier 1 options, show them off. People, the easiest way to demonstrate this to people is just let them play the format. If they like the format, they'll possibly buy a deck. Big selling point for me, cheap. The format is cheap.
It's cheap. And I will say, Pat's prizes to Pauper the same way it prizes to all of its other tournaments. So you could truly play what you want, right? It's not like you're missing out on material by not playing Pauper, or, you know, winnings or anything. So that's a big incentive. Also, is when the store is like, yeah, sure, we'll do it, and we'll prize out the same as everyone else. You know, $6 gets you entry, and then you get regular prizes. The issue that we have really run into, not so much at Pat's, is Pauper players don't want packs most of the time. They want singles.
Yeah, so, in franchise, players definitely would prefer a store credit, and not having a great single selection can kind of make it hard, especially because people can't, you know, pick up a deck from you because a lot of these staples are old.
Yeah. And of note, if you do plan on playing Paper Pauper at your store, I would 100% recommend the Card Kingdom ban list. You can look them up. They're the folks who put on Rags to Riches. Mike and I are very big proponents of their ban list. We think it's very fair. We think it prevents a lot of feel bads, which can happen in the format. And honestly, the format just needs a signpost of like, this is what's okay, because another thing you'll run into if you try and start playing Paper with a you know, big group is that you're going to have to decide on a ban list because there's no official ban list for Paper Pauper.
I over the years have kind of changed my point of view on the ban list. I actually think that I would prefer the MTGO ban list. It adds a layer of complexity for newer players, but there are a couple of websites that allow you to check the legality of a deck. I believe Deck Repotence is one of them. And I'm trying to think. There's some other deck builder.
And by saying the Moto list, you are implying then that cards like him and High Tide are not in the format at all. And
yes,
so therefore do not need to be banned.
Yeah,
I can get behind that as well.
So I believe the thing is, anything from Alpha up to just before Mirage, anything from those sets, if it did not see a common printing in a reprint set, you know, a core set, a regular expert level set, or a master's edition online, at common, it's not legal. So, for example, Hymn to Torok is online, but it was never printed as a common online, so not legal.
Right. Okay. I can get behind this. I can get behind this.
I don't know. I definitely am a big fan of that, just because it does create a level of simplicity where, you know, someone can play something online, they come into the store, they can play it, and they know they're not going to get blindsided by, say, Desert, which arguably is a little too good for Pauper. But discussions for another day. But yeah, I always encourage people that, you know, if you want to play Pauper, build some decks, show people will gravitate towards it. I would definitely recommend, personally, I've found that there's a lot more overlap between Pauper as a format and its fan base with Legacy than anything else. So if there's a Legacy scene near you, we were definitely spoiled. I was definitely spoiled in Austin, and it continued to be spoiled by having active Legacy scenes near me.
I was like, yeah, you're in the Northeast. That's the best place for Legacy.
Yeah. There's a store down the road from me that does that does prize supported legacy tournaments where they allow proxies, so you can actually build into a real legacy deck. But yeah, I would say like just do it. Like look at us. We had no podcasting abilities before starting this show, and now we do. We just sat down and did it. And the early
Just a raw
episodes,
egg. Eat it, you dummy.
I'm not gonna lie. I've listened to our first episode once, and I was so deeply embarrassed by it that I considered deleting it from our YouTube and our website.
You can't do that. It's there. It's archived. It's there forever.
It is.
I won't let you.
But I definitely, you know, as someone who started up a pauper community and really tried to help foster it grow in Austin, the best thing you can do is just show up every week with pauper and play. Like once people start playing, be there as much as you can. Be supportive of the format. Have a couple decks to lend out, because you know, let's say there's like 5 people who are trying to draft, and you know they can't fire an event, but you know if a couple of them came over to pauper, they could borrow some decks. They might take you up on that, and you might have a new convert to the format.
I find that most of the time when people play pauper, they do tend to enjoy it quite a bit. Maybe it's confirmation bias.
That said, it is a kind of like, I would say it's a more skill-intensive format than, like, there's definitely, and this is a bit of a false dichotomy. There's definitely the idea of like formats which are, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like I'm trying to compare it to Legacy, where people tell you like, with Legacy, you know, play the deck that you know inside and out because your knowledge is worth as much as, you know, a meta decision. It's definitely that kind of thing where, you know, you are rewarded for really knowing the ins and outs of your deck and how it plays versus the meta. And personally, I really like that.
Me too.
All right, let me just check up here. All right, we're coming close to an hour. We're going to bring back a segment we did last time, retitled, you know, a little bit more friendly style. We're going to play a game that we are calling Sideboard, Main Deck, and Unplayable, wherein I will present 3 cards to my co-host, and he will tell me which, based solely on how attractive he finds these cards, whether they are sideboard, main deck, or just stone unplayable. And
all right, Mike, lay it on me.
Yep,
I'm ready.
Got to drop these into our Word doc here. All right, and I'm going to do these one at a time. So we're going to start off with.
Oh, I don't get to know.
We're going to start off with the promo art Sin Collector.
All right, we see before us an elderly man with a maybe bald face tattoo, kind of bug eyes, has some sort of glowing thing in his hand. Maybe it's a woman. I actually can't tell. I think it's a man though. All right.
I'm not even sure he's old. He might just be cursed. I don't know.
He might just be a cursed man. Thing.
Next up, we have Zertaw Druid.
We see before us a gangrenous. She looks kind of like the lady from The Ring. You know, her hair is all stringy. She looks like she might have drowned at some point. Is this a man actually? Was that a nip I see?
I don't want to assume in this situation, but
don't know. Yeah, I won't assume either. There is a person.
Yeah, this Gruul-aligned person channeling mana out of a city into an orb and plinking people with it.
Yeah. All right. Go on.
All right, and to round it out, I actually
the one you're gonna laugh uproariously over.
this is the one that I saw and I chuckled about it as I was putting this together before the show.
All right, lay it on. We have Armada Worm. We see before us two large worms that are breaking things. And, well, Mike, I think if you've seen this card, you'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah. So,
all right, y'all. Let's get into it.
You're ready for this?
I'm ready for this. Sideboard, main deck, and unplayable. I'm gonna go with Zerta as main deck. Armada Worm is sideboard, and Sin Collector is unplayable.
All right. So Sin Collector.
You heard it here, folks.
Sin Collector just not getting there for you with that weird, creepy rictus grin.
Yeah, it's the smile that's real. Like, this dude wants to kill me. Look, that must weigh heavily on your soul. Let me purge it for you. You know, I don't know what he's gonna do to me. What's that little electric staff? I don't want to be part of this.
He definitely
it's a little
does.
Dangerous.
It definitely does look like a very creepy picture on an internet dating profile.
I'm gonna take my chances with the two gigantic worms.
All right. Now that you've determined who you're going to take out on a date, how about you take us out of the show, Adrian?
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. Please check below this video or in the description of this podcast for details on where to find us. We'd like to remind you that if you're listening to this on a platform with reviews, they are always appreciated as they boost our visibility. If you've got a deck list or an idea for a topic, feel free to contact us either via our website or by emailing us directly at colorcommentary@gmail.com. Everyone who submitted something for us this week, I promise I did read it. We just really wanted to cover this deck. Please keep sending stuff in. We always appreciate it. And special thanks to you. And of course, special thanks to Pat's Games and L. Until next week, this is Adrian and Mike, and we are signing off for Color Commentary.